In today's video, we discuss the upcoming game Stargrave, sci-fi wargaming in a ravaged galaxy, from Joseph McCullough and Osprey Games. We also start our new series, Countdown to Stargrave, where we raid the contents of some older sci-fi starter sets, looking for the perfect recruits for our Stargrave cruise. Well, hi folks, this is Lee from skirmishwargames.com. Welcome to the channel. I'm here with Lynn.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to talk about Stargrave. So we're shooting this video during the first week of February 2021, which means we're about 2.5 months from the release date of Stargrave, science fiction war games in the ravaged galaxy, and I believe it's still scheduled to drop somewhere toward the end of April. So Stargrave is a new tabletop skirmish game written by Joseph McCullough, who is the designer of Frostgrave and Rangers of Shadow Deep, and it's published by Osprey Games, the publisher of Frostgrave, Scrappers, Dracula's America, and a host of other rule sets for tabletop miniature wargaming. At this point in time, we don't have a lot of details about Stargrave outside of a few tidbits published in the official press releases and on Joseph McCullough's blog, but Joseph did reveal that the game will draw upon many of the basic mechanics found in Frostgrave. So it's a fair bet that if you enjoyed Frostgrave, you'll probably dig this new game as well. So I'd say we enjoyed Frostgrave.
Yes, we did.
But anyway, according to the publisher, Stargrave takes place in the aftermath of a vast and devastating galactic war, which leaves the galaxy in chaos and overrun with ruthless space pirates. Why would ruthless? Lacking in ruth, I guess. Ruthless space pirates who raid and plunder with very little opposition. However, operating beneath the notice of these vast pirate fleets are thousands of independent space captains and their plucky crews who pilot small spacecraft in search of resources and adventure. So in Stargrave, each player controls a small crew of independent operators. These could be free traders, treasure hunters, soldiers of fortune, filthy scavengers, or anyone hustling to make a buck in the ravaged galaxy. These crews will test their mettle in various missions where presumably they'll be challenged by competing crews who are also after the same objectives. When they're successful, crews will gain resources and experience, which will allow them to replenish their ranks with higher quality recruits. Each crew is led by a captain and a second in command. The rest of the ship's complement is comprised of various specialists such as soldiers, mechanics, and hackers. Crews can even include aliens and robots, who will no doubt have access to some pretty cool abilities and traits. I like robots.
I like robots too.
As we mentioned, crews will probably have to compete with each other to complete missions, and they'll also face game-controlled opponents such as ruffians, troopers, and bounty hunters who will try to make each crew's life as difficult as possible. And I think I read somewhere that to put kind of a time limit on the games, in Stargrave, the longer the game goes on, the tougher the game-controlled opponents become. So you start with low-level ruffians, and the game goes on and on and on, and then all of a sudden you get troopers, shock troopers, and bounty hunters to take on your crew. And one other thing, I was checking on my Stargrave pre-order on Amazon today, and I noticed they've already announced an expansion book, Stargrave Quarantine 37, which allows crews to investigate an abandoned space station, which was used for questionable research and experimentation during the war. So I guess think storylines like Doom or Alien 4 or the Green Slime, stuff like that. Stargrave Quarantine 37 is apparently scheduled for release in September 2021, and yes, I've already pre-ordered my copy.
Yay.
Yay. Because there's nothing like mutated space zombies in the cold confines of an abandoned space station.
Think of the loot.
Think of all the juicy loot. So if all goes as planned, we should receive our copy of the Stargrave core rules in a little less than 3 months, and at this point we have at least some idea of what each of us are going to need to field a respectable crew. So the question is, what minis do we each want to use?
Ones we already have or ones that I get to paint?
Yeah, that's the big question. So there's already a lot of chatter about this subject on the Stargrave Facebook page, with some people getting really excited about building custom crews, and other folks kind of excited about dusting off some old figures they painted a long time ago, but haven't used for a while, with the intent of redeploying them for Stargrave. We actually do have quite a few sci-fi warbands already painted and ready to go. So, Lynn, maybe you remember when you were first getting started with mini painting, you asked if I had any figures you could practice on, and I had picked up this eBay lot. Somebody had built, I don't know, it was probably about 15 or 16 Sci-Fi soldiers. There was some Warhammer in there. There was some other games I don't really recognize, but kind of a hodgepodge of humans and Eldar and Dark Eldar. And they painted them, and they were painted, but they were all in dark black and dark gray. And so I gave those to you, and I said, here, see if you can add some color to those. And you threw some flash on it. You gave them some bling, and they turned out really well. So we actually have in the bank a big squad of humans, and then sort of a mixed bag of Dark Eldar and Eldar who are painted in the same color scheme. And then a bunch of orcs and Gretchens, obviously, so maybe Mongo wants to be on a Stargrave crew.
He could be, yeah.
Anyway, the point is, if we run out of time before Stargrave drops, which is always possible, we have plenty of crew members painted, based, and ready to go. But I am sort of getting a sense that you want to paint some new dudes.
The Space Skaven are on my list.
Yeah, the space
I'm going to get into your box.
Okay, so as I understand it, North Star is planning to release several Stargrave miniature kits, which, if they're anything like the Frostgrave plastics, particularly the later ones, will probably be pretty good. But I think we're going to use this as an opportunity. Instead of buying some more kits, we're going to look on the shelf and try to pick out some unbuilt and or unpainted figures that have been languishing for a while and see if any of those guys want to seek their fame and fortune in the ravaged galaxy. So that's what I think we're going to do over the next week or 10 days or so. We're going to unbox some of these older starter sets, see what's inside, and commandeer anything interesting we might want to use for Stargrave. So we have 4 or 5 things that we'll be unboxing over the next week to 10 days. Try to do 1 unboxing per video. And to get the ball rolling, I thought we would take a look at Sedition Wars, Battle for Alabaster. So I'm thinking there may not be stuff in here that we want to use immediately, and I'll explain why in a second. But definitely when Quarantine 37 comes along, that is following almost the same premise as Sedition Wars, Battle for Alabaster. So I know there's components and things that we can steal for a space station type scenario. So I'm going to set this other stuff aside. We'll pull this out and we'll open it up and see what's inside and see what we can pilfer for Stargrave. And you might remember, Lynn, we actually got 2 of these. So this game came out in 2012. I think it was a Kickstarter, and then they had a retail release, I think. And you can still get a brand new copy on Amazon. I checked today, and they'll sell you a copy for $29.99 plus $20 shipping because it's kind of heavy. It's a big, heavy box. But we actually, a few years ago, picked up 2 of these. They were selling for about $25 a piece because I guess they were unloading them. They're a little more expensive now. But you can still get a copy for $40 or $50 if you look online. But we got 2 of these. So you might not remember because it was a while ago, but you were in your early building and painting phase. And I gave you a bunch of Sedition Wars figures from the first set that we got.
Oh, I remember the creepy ones.
Yeah, they were creepy and maybe not the greatest. Not all that fun to build and didn't look like they'd be that fun to paint. So at first glance, this box set is really encouraging because it looks like you get a ton of stuff in here. Even at $50, you get about 50 minis and then some game boards and tokens and all kinds of things. And so at first glance, it would appear that this is a really good deal. But when we got into it, it was not that appealing because the minis are kind of junk. I'll just say it. But there's a lot of kind of mutated space zombies here. And so I might actually paint up some of these zombies that you built, rough as they are, and use those for Quarantine 37 when it comes along. So zombies, you don't have to be quite as precise with zombies. Just spatter them with gore. But let's see what's in here anyway, because there is some stuff we can use, definitely. So Sedition Wars, here we go. And also, we're going to look at the Sedition Wars terrain set, which was separate and a little bit harder to find. But this definitely has some stuff we can use that we can paint up for a space station type scenario. So there's consoles and turrets and doors and all kinds of neat things. And some nastiness here. So we'll look at that too. So here's the book. It's funny to me that they'll take maybe some substandard minis, but once they paint them up professionally, they look pretty good. So I don't know if we could achieve those same results. But anyway, there is Sedition Wars, Battle for Alabaster. So lots of counters and tokens, and that looks like a 2D terrain piece that probably fits on the game board somewhere. More counters. So looking ahead to Stargrave, I think what we're most interested in out of this box are these full color game tiles, these game board tiles. Now you get about 5 in a box. Each tile is 14 by 14, a nice matte finish, and it of course portrays various environments on the space station. So as you can see, each board tile is double-sided, so you can create a lot of different layouts. And because we have 2 sets of these, one from each box set, we can create a really big-ass space station if we want to. Okay, so those are the 2-sided game board tiles that come with the Sedition Wars box set. And just for grins, because we're here, let's take a look at some of the minis that came with this set as well. I mean, it's not the worst I've ever seen. It just falls into the category of not that much fun to put together. Interesting sculpts, but they're just rough. And in the end, it was like, well, we glued them together, but we just don't feel like painting them. But yeah, it might not be too difficult to rush through some zombies. You also get some troopers, and this guy's kind of interesting. He's sort of a hover robot. Okay, so I told you what I thought about the miniatures, but I have to say, give credit where credit is due. The Sedition Wars terrain set is very nice. So this is more of a hard plastic set of doors and consoles and terrain pieces and things like that. And yeah, I think when used in conjunction with the game board, you could create a really nice 2D, 3D kind of hybrid experience. So let's see what's in here. This is also kind of available online. You can find them, but I think people realize there was some value here, so they're a little bit more expensive. All right. Okay, so as you see, you get crates and consoles and gun turrets and looks like barricades and a bunch of these little kind of xenomorph things that could represent, you know, whatever threats we're going to be facing in Quarantine 37. And this is a nice, decent, I mean, it's not super high quality plastic, but it's nice rigid plastic. So these probably would paint up pretty nicely. Yeah, as you can see, not too shabby at all. So we have like, is that a computer console right there? Yeah. So there's a little computer console. You got some kind of a little objective. Maybe that's a power unit. Crate, barrier. I don't know what that is. Little gun turret. And then your little xenomorph blobs.
And here's some very scary little people.
And then, yeah, as Lynn pointed out, here's a little person who's been cocooned and is probably going through some sort of metamorphosis, which won't end well. And this guy, oh, it's just a flesh wound. I'm fine. So pretty happy about that. And then we have a metric ton of doors, of armored doors. So we'll have to find some way to paint these in mass, but that's a heck of a lot of armored doors. As you can see, they're pretty decent. And actually, I stole a couple of these out of the first set and was using them to build Star Wars terrain. I would kind of cram them into a piece of foam to create a door on a Tatooine hut. And you certainly can do that, or you can use them as originally intended for the Sedition Wars game board. Which we're going to do. We're not going to be playing Sedition Wars, though. We're going to wait for Stargrave. So that is the Sedition Wars terrain set. If you can find one of these for cheap, it's worth picking up, I think. And as for the original Sedition Wars box set, you definitely do get quite a few Sci-Fi soldier minis in here, but it's kind of a case of quantity over quality, and in the end, we just didn't want to mess with it. Okay, folks, well, I guess that's a wrap on the first episode of our Stargrave Countdown series, where we're going to look at various starter sets and loose minis that we might cannibalize for use in Stargrave. So, Lynn, I noticed you really wanted to get your hands on this Infinity starter set. This is the Operation Red Veil. It came out around 2016, and we'll be opening this. This is for Infinity version 3, and I think they're on version 4 and version 4 Lite right now. So, not really useful for playing the game, but there's some cool stuff in here that we're going to open up terrain-wise and I think mini-wise that we can steal, if that's what you want.
Yes. And the Space Skaven, when we get to that one.
Yeah, the Veermen are part of the Dead Zone system from Mantic, and this is one of the faction boxes we have. We have a couple others we'll open up, and we also have the original starter set. This came out in 2016 too, and I think this is still the version of the game that's being played. Maybe version 2, I'm not entirely sure, but we didn't quite get to it yet. And it looks like there's some minis and some terrain and some stuff in there that we will crack into and see if there's anything there that I want to steal. Plus, we'll be looking at, I think I have an AT-43 Operation Damocles box set. I have an old version of Star Rovers from probably 79 or early 80s that I got in the shrink wrap on Amazon. Like they were just selling it. It's like, what the heck? So we'll look at that as well as some old archive Star Rovers miniatures and some other fun stuff. So that is going to be our series, and hopefully by the time we get done with that, we'll have a pretty good sense of what we want to steal and use for Stargrave, or maybe we'll just go in a completely different direction. We don't know. Okay, folks, well, as always, thank you very much for stopping by. We hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you like the things we do, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give this video a big thumbs up, and of course, please visit us online at our website, skirmishwargames.com, and we will see you soon.